Hello, Insane Friends. It's good to be back live with you again today. I'm going to go over the stock trades that I've been doing the last week since my big sell off last Monday. Uh, Lots and lots of stocks, and I did one update since then. And it looked like during that update that I was right to sell everything that had sold, even though I was down and I lost some money on those trades. I avoided a lot more losses. But we're going to go over that stuff again today. And I haven't looked at this today, so I don't know at this point any more than you do of whether I have lost more money, whether that was a complete mistake to sell these things off, whether they're making money now and I missed out on that money. I don't know. So we're going to go over each one of these individual stocks, the percentage loss I was at when I sold them or gain, and what their stock price is right now, today, and see how that compares to what it was when I sold them. First up is SPY, SPY. I sold SPY at a price of $436. And this was last Monday on 124.22. It was, I was at a negative 4% loss. And it did go down further last week. And we're going to look at it right now and see where SPY is at today. SPY right now is at 452. It has recovered a great deal and then some. And since I sold at 436, I would have not lost anything. I would have actually gained if I just hung on to it. And so in the middle of last week, it looked like it was the right thing to do because it did dip further. It was, let's see what we got here, 5-day chart. It went all the way down to 427. So at 427, I sold at 436. That was good confirmation, but I should have re-entered then because now we're at 453. And if I had re-entered it at 427, I could have sold here at around 453. 452 is where it's at right now, and taken a profit instead of a 4% loss. So, such is the market. This is one of the reasons why I say, this for entertainment purpose only. This is not financial advice, and don't copy my trades because sometimes I lose. Now, next is FB or Facebook. Facebook was at 303 when I sold Monday, 124, and it did go down quite a bit during the week. It went all the way down to 290, and it stayed down. It's around 293 was on 128. So 4 days later, after I'd sold it, it still looked like confirmation that I had done the right thing. But then it just started taking off. It started rallying, and it's been in a rally ever since. It's up to 319 now. I was only at a 9% loss on that. So 303 up to 319. Again, I would not have lost if I just hung on for another week, or if I had re-entered on, it looks like 128, which is, what day of the week was that? 128 was Monday, yesterday. No, that's not right. No, it was last Monday. It was 128. Nuh-uh. That's not right either. I'm confused. Friday. Duh. Friday was 128. And it was still down. So it's been rallying this week, Monday and Tuesday, and just going up and up. Goggle, which is a Golden Ocean group, was the next one. I sold at $9.60. No, it's at 960. I sold at 825, and I had a negative 4. I was at 4% loss on that, and it is at 960 now. So again, should have just hold on to it. Every one of these was in the red last week when I checked this. And it looks like Friday would have been the day to re-enter on this one as well. But as it looked like, let's see here. Yeah, as far back as Thursday, it was already going up. Charge Point, CHPT, is the next one. Sold at $12.80, and holy moly, it's gone up to $14.22. It went down as far as $11.37 when it was falling, and now it's up to $14.21. Nvidia sold at $2.27, up to $2.45. It's not looking good. It's not looking good for my choices right now. What I'm learning from this is what I had been doing for 2 years and just holding on through the dips, and sometimes buying in during the dips was the right thing to do. And when I diverted from that strategy and sold because of all these extra things going on in the market and the tapering and the talking about the raising the interest rates and everything, it's biting me in the butt. We had Silvo, SLVO, sold at $5.14. It is down to $4.96. It went down as low as $4.86, and it has come up a little bit, but it looks like it's floundering a little bit at $4.96 and losing ground. It barely made it up to $5, but remember, I sold at $5.14, so it's still down, and it's going down again. It looks like it's losing steam on its recovery. So it's at a point right now where either I could say, well, I was right to dump it and just leave it that way, or I could re-enter at $4.96 and maybe recover some of that 4% loss I took when I sold it. But I don't know. I'm going to write this one down, and I'm going to come back to it because it may be a re-entry opportunity on Silvo, SLVO. All right. Before I do that though, one of the things I'm going to look at is maybe the, well, now I can't think. I've lost my terminology. We'll come back to that. Let's move on with the USDP. USDP, I sold at $5. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped SoFi. SoFi, SOFI, I sold at $13.40. And SoFi is at $13.24. Again, this is another one that is lower than what I sold it for, but it is making a remarkable recovery. SoFi was down to $10.51 and has since gone back up to $13.40. It's made a dip today down to $12.87. So I'm going to write this down, SoFi, as a possibility of re-entry. But we still have some market conditions, like the interest rates are going to go up. And I think on the 4th, we're going to hear some from Chairman Powell, and maybe something on the 10th. I didn't write everything down on the calendar here, so I'm going to have to do some research to see what that was. I had these notes on, but something's happening on the February the 4th and something on February the 10th I need to find out about before I do any re-entry into any of these. Because if I re-enter now and the news comes out on the 4th that pushes it back down, then that wouldn't be good. So we were on SoFi. USDP, I sold at $5. and I took a 12% loss to get out of that. Now, I did put most of this money back in, and I'll tell you here in just a minute where I put it back in and what I put it back in. And there's a couple of trades I did today I want to tell you about that I made some money on as soon as I'm done going over these trades of my great sell-off. USDP, I sold at $5, is now at $5.94. So yeah, I could have hung on to that. And I think it was some $5 and some change that I sold it for. But yeah, that's disappointing. Iron Mountain actually sold at a 20% gain. So, but let's see if I would have gained more if I'd have held on to it, or if I would have lost my 20% from not selling it. Iron Mountain was at 43.30 when I sold it. And I made a 20% profit when I sold it at 43.30. And indeed, it went down to 42.91, but it has rallied since then all the way up to 46.34. So I left $3 on the table there. $3.04 I missed out on and left on the table for leaving too early on Iron Mountain. Iron Mountain is one of my favorite companies to look at as far as their profitability and stuff like that. So if you haven't looked into Iron Mountain, done any, I'm not suggesting that you buy the stock. I'm only suggesting that you do some research on the company. I think you might like what you find. I don't suggest buys or sells on this channel. I'm not giving financial advice. I'm not qualified to do so. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a guy that's made money off of stocks, and just because I made money off of my trades doesn't mean that that's going to translate into you making money. So don't copy what I'm doing. As you can see, in full transparency here, trying to be as transparent as possible, so maybe you can be entertained by the things that I'm doing and maybe avoid some losses and stuff like that. So you can see what mistakes I made and learn as much from those mistakes as I do. Trading with real money, high stakes, real money trading here. Looks like it's going down right here in front of my eyes to 46.19 now on Iron Mountain. Still doesn't make me feel any better about leaving this early. The problem is that once you sell a stock, emotionally, the problem is once you sell a stock, if you make money and you sell it and it goes up like this one did, you feel bad for selling it too early. If you sell it and it goes down, you feel bad for, like the other ones, for not re-entering at the low price when it goes back up. So you got to try to be positive and have a positive attitude. Otherwise, you're going to feel negative about every trade you do. Now, GREE is the next one. Oh, I never wanted GREE. I never wanted that stock. They bought a company that I owned, and I had just like bought that other company and set it and forget it. I learned never do that. Never do that, because you can't trust these things to be just set and forget. You got to keep on them and keep a watch on them, because what happened was this Greenidge generation bought that company, and then immediately it destroyed the price of that stock. Then they took those stocks away from me and gave me this crappy GREE stuff, which was worth even less. And then it quickly dropped down to like 63% loss. Sold it at $11.90. And darned if the thing didn't go up right after I dumped it. Went up as high as $13.91. It since fell back down to $12.66. It looks like it's finally finding some some support around the $10 to $13 range. But I've just got a real bad taste in my mouth for this stock, and I just don't like it. I didn't want it to begin with. I got saddled with it somehow. It was a costly learning experience, and I'd just rather not have it. But I do want to not forget it and learn from it and let the experience make me a better trader. Now, Hood is another one. Oh, Hood, you betrayed me. Sold Hood at $12.75. It's the first time I've ever seen it go up. It's done nothing but go down and down and down and down and down until I sold it. And finally, when it looked like it was good, and it did go below $10, and it looked like it was just going to end up being a $2 stock, because it just dropped and dropped and dropped. Let me look here for like a year. Yeah, like a year, from $85, just a slow bleed out, bleeding and bleeding and bleeding and bleeding forever. Just every time I looked at it, it's dropped more. Every time I look at it, it's dropped more and more and more and more. And finally let it go. And darn if the thing don't just start climbing, starts recovering. The thing is up to $14.65. And I sold it at $12.75. Another learning experience. So not sure what I'm going to do about that, or if anything. I might just stay away from it forever and just keep throwing my money into Tesla. Palantir, PLTR, sold at $13. Another one that was going down and down, and as soon as I sold it, well, not as soon as I sold it, it continued to go down all the way to $11.89 after I sold it at $13. And then it has since started rallying, and it's made it all the way back up to $14.19. So it's making a nice recovery here. Anybody that's got it, I applaud you. It looks like my gut instinct tells me that this is going to keep going up until it gets to around $20 or something. I don't know if it'll go back up to 25 or anything like that, because the money printer's slowing down. It's not on anymore. So I don't know. And on the 4th, when we get that speech from, I think it's a speech from another speech from Chairman Powell, all of this might drop way back down to where it was, where I feared it was going, and it actually did when I sold off. And so we may be in the middle of a bull trap. And that's what I'm thinking, is we're the dead cat bounce or a bull trap. And I'm very reluctant to buy back in right now, because I don't want to compound my losses on these things. Also had quite a bit of money in the VFIAX, which I guess you've seen what's happened with it. It was, I sold at 407, and right after I sold at 407, it went down to 406, come back up a little bit, 406 and some change, then back down to 402. Then it was down to 401, and I was like, phew, I'm glad I sold out. And then it was down to 399, and I was like really, really liking the confirmation. And then yesterday it shot back up, and today it shot up a lot more, and we're talking about shot up like a rocket. And so this is the one I really, really wish I'd have just held on to. It's VFIX tracks the S&P 500, and I had something like this happen to me once before in the VFIX, where at the beginning of the pandemic, about halfway down, I pulled out. I had $2,500 in losses at that time, It went way further down than that. I would have lost a lot more money, but I would have recovered every bit of that money and then some on the way back up. Luckily, I put that same money into something else that made just as much money as what I would have made on that. But I had to do a few trades to get it. Whereas if I'd left it in the VFIX, yeah, it is something I do believe in for myself, not advice for anybody else. And just put it in there and set it and forget it. But with this tapering going on, and you know, in the recent past, we've had all this money printing going on from the Fed, and they're putting a stop to that. I think the Fed said that by March they're going to quit with the money printing and maybe even start buying some of those bonds back. The first interest rate hike is going to go through, and they may do 4 interest rate hikes this year. I also know, being a kid in the 70s and going to high school in the early 80s, that back then there was a Fed chairman, and we'd had some really high inflation for a while. And don't quote me on this, but I think he raised the interest rates by 20% before he could get the inflation under control. Now, this Fed is saying that he's going to get the inflation under control by raising it like a total of 2%, a quarter of a percent, a quarter of a percent, quarter percent, throughout the year. Well, that other Fed, he had to like attack it with 20%, big old 20% interest rate hike to get it under control. So something don't add up here. I just don't. I'm afraid that this is going to be a little bit harder than what the Fed is letting on, and that's going to impact the stock market something terrible. So I'm not sure I want to have all my money in when that happens. But this week it's looking like, unlike last week where I had lots of confirmation, this week it's looking like I should have just left everything in there. But like I said, I did sell a lot of Tesla back then too, and then I re-entered on Tesla with a lot of money that I did have in these other stocks, and I'm doing well on that because Tesla is also recovering. And that was a weird thing that happened with the Tesla on the earnings report. Tesla had a really great earnings report that we were expecting, and they beat on everything. It was outstanding. Excuse me. And the stock went down 6% anyway. And I think it was because Elon Musk mentioned the robot. And I think that was there were some other factors and everything, but I think the major factor was him mentioning the robot and mentioning that, they're not really, he's saying they're not really working on the $25,000 cheap electric car, which I really don't think they need to do that, because I think we're going to see a lot of cheap electric cars coming out of China. And it's not going to be those dumpy, terrible electric cars that come out of China now. They have much better electric cars in China that don't come over here now. And I think it's going to be a lot of really good cars, like we had coming out of, maybe not quite as good as the ones that come out of the gas cars that came out of Japan in the 80s and the 70s, but on that level. And I think the good Chinese cars that come over here are going to give GM and Ford a run for their money. But Ford's going to have a really big advantage, I believe, because Ford is doing a lot of truck and SUV electric vehicles. And I think the truck and SUV electric vehicles are going to have a huge advantage over car electric vehicles. And that's where Ford is placing itself. And I think that's a very smart thing for them to do. So don't discount Ford right now. And their stock is doing really well too. That's one that I had sold quite a while ago and made pretty good money. I bought in at $4 or $5 and sold around $9. So almost doubled my money. But again, I wished I'd have just held on to it for a lot longer, because, I mean, look at it now. well, I don't know about today. Let me look at it today. Is it still over $20? Yes, it's $20.65. It was as much as $24. So it would have been nice to hang on to that till 24, but hindsight's 2020, Monday quarterbacking here. But of course we're doing this on purpose to try to learn from while I earn and while I risk my money so you don't have to. And let's not even go over the cryptos. you know, I lost some money pulling out of the cryptos. It wasn't much, but it just enough to tick me off that they were going down. I get out to protect my capital, and they went up a little bit almost immediately. But I'm thinking about rolling some of that over into Tesla. How's Tesla doing today? They're at 931. They're down from what they were earlier today. Yesterday on Tesla, I was up over $4,000. And today I'm down $493. So I'll take that. I'll take the up 4,000 and down 490. That's really good, like that. So, and the market's closed now, and it's after 4 o'clock, and I've got a place to be, and I'm glad you were here. And before I leave, I'd like to wish you all insane growth, and I hope you all have an insane amount of success. Thank you for visiting with me today. Be sure to leave a comment